supposed to start at 5:30, it's about 5:43. Gonna take a roll call of the Waymark Borough Council. Teresa Stratton,
Here.
Donnie Miller,
Here.
Shane Bailey,
Present.
Jane Varco.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Randy.
Randy is here, I'm sorry. Randy Thorpe is here, we have a quorum. We have 2 absences. Mayor Chip Narella is here, and we have Dean Stratton, who is the sole member of our planning commission at this point, is that correct? We are here based on a conditional use zoning application filed on August 1st, 2025 by Joseph Blaskowitz from the Waymark Housing Authority. The first hearing was held on September 23rd, 2025 and continued until today's date. Wayne County Housing Authority, excuse me. Thank you very much. All right, the applicant is the Wayne County Housing Authority. The applicant is represented by both Attorney David Gregory and Attorney Anthony Waldron, who are both present here tonight. The subject property is located at 130 Carbondale Road, Waymark. Could the applicant please identify your witnesses for this evening?
I certainly can, thank you. Good evening or afternoon, but almost evening to everyone. I am Anthony Waldron. I'm here on behalf of the Wayne County Housing Authority, along with Dave Gregory, who's the solicitor for the Wayne County Housing Authority. We're gonna both make brief introductions, and then we're going to call a number of witnesses, and I have a list of those. I've provided this list to the stenographer so that she get names correct. Not that Joe's name's hard to spell.
Not too much.
2 more?
Thank you.
I hope not to be too long. I'm also going to be providing you with a revised conditional use narrative. The application, as Attorney Farrell indicated, was submitted back in August, and along with that, which identified the parties and the property location, there was a narrative that explained a little more about the project and also how we were proceeding zoning-wise. We revised that because of 2 things. One, the number of units that was originally being discussed has gone up a little bit. And 2, wanted to indicate too the fact that how the procedure was going to go in terms of why this is a conditional use, namely that it's a change of non-conforming use under your zoning ordinance, specifically section 31 of the zoning ordinance that addresses that. Do you want me, before I do an introduction, do we want to see if there's anybody else parties-wise?
Yes, that's what we're gonna do first, and then if you don't mind, I'm gonna read this into the record.
Sure, that would be
Okay.
fine.
But at this point, anybody has a right who's basically who's a citizen of Waymark, if they wish to be an intervener in the case. That means a party in the case. You could be for this action, you could be against this action, but if you wish to be a party, if you wish to cross-examine, if you wish to present your own evidence, you have to register as an intervener in the case. At the end of this, we will let people who are affected by this in Waymark also give statements. You don't have to be an intervener or a party to give a statement. So right now we want to know, is there anybody here that wishes to be a party to this action? Part of being a party, if you don't like the decision of Waymark Borough Council, you will have the right to go to the next level and appeal it to the Court of Common Pleas. If you do not register as an intervener, you waive all your rights to challenge this in any way. So with that being said, would anybody like to enter their appearance as an intervener in this case? Yes, sir.
Roger Hermans,
Come on up, Roger. Where do you live?
17 Gravity Plains Road, Unit 1034, Waymark.
If you could take a pen there, sir, please fill out that information. Is there anybody else that would like to enter their appearance? Anyone else? Last call.
If I may, Attorney Farrell, I don't believe I have any objection to Mr. Herman's, but just to clarify why he would qualify as a party. Mr. Herman, do you live near the proposed site?
Yes, I do, I can see it from my front
That's
door.
what I thought. Okay, then I have no objection. I just want to make sure I understood that.
Does anybody on Borough Council object to Mr. Herman?
No.
Chair. No, I have another township meeting to go to in 30 minutes. I can sit on the way there. Yeah. Yeah.
Attorney Farrell,
Thank you.
is there something that has to be put in the first line there?
We can fill that out for him.
Okay.
That's fine. Clipboard anywhere here, do we, Jim?
Yeah, is there one by the door?
It's over there in the hall.
It's in the hallway in the mayor's office.
No, right, you moved it to the,
I moved it in your way because I was afraid somebody tripped over it in the bathroom.
What do you need? Just a clipboard.
Just a clipboard. We don't want.
We're low budget operation.
Yeah, right.
It's the only clipboard we have.
So get all
It's
these.
a good one though.
Folks, we're gonna pass around a sign-in sheet. We would ask that everybody please sign in. Don't worry, it won't be a party. Nobody can sue you or anything, it won't cost you anything. But if we could just pass that around the room and everybody please sign in. Mr. Hermans, are you gonna have any exhibits that you wish to enter into the record this evening? Okay. Attorneys, are there exhibits that you'd like to enter into the record, or would you rather do that as we go along?
We don't have a lot of exhibits. I would treat that revised narrative as an exhibit, so that could be A1, if you will, for applicant one. The other, yeah, there are exhibits attached to the application.
Which includes the deed, the title instrument to the property, which, and there are also sections of the Waymark Code, which just identify who the housing authority is as an agency, and that it's designated as the official housing agency of the borough, so, and just identifies the scope and the mission of the housing authority.
Gentlemen, would you object to the conditional use zoning application with all exhibits attached to it being your exhibit A1?
That would be fine. I
That'd be
think that
fine.
makes the most sense,
Sure.
rather than
Absolutely.
itemize those things.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And then we'll make the narrative, since that was submitted separately, as A2, if we could. And then A3 would be the site plan prepared by A&E Group.
Yep.
I think your narrative is attached to the exhibit.
Well,
It's one of
that's, but it's
Different?
it's revised as.
It's been revised.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
so
that's why.
we're gonna make this one exhibit
A2,
A2,
if you could, please.
and we're gonna put that as the 1021 narrative, is that
Correct.
correct?
That is correct. And then, before I get to, sorry. since there's going to be some testimony presented about the United Neighborhood Community, United Neighborhood Community Development Corporation. I have a brochure about them. I would like to have that marked as Exhibit A3. I can just mark it up in the top right, if that's all right.
And which is that gonna be?
That is it is a brochure about the United Neighborhood Community Development Corporation. They're listed as being witnesses, both Marty Fava and Joy are going to be testifying during the course of this presentation.
Okay.
So that would be A3. And I believe the only other exhibit, significant one though, is the site plan by the A&E Group. Drew Clooney is here, he's going to be presenting that formally, but that would be marked as A4.
Thank you. And what is this gonna be, the map?
Site plan, actually, I believe it's referred to as the
Proposed zoning plan.
proposed zoning plan. Yep.
C2.
Okay, I have that. I will say that the original hearing in September was duly advertised, and we'll put proof of that into the record. I will say for posting purposes, Joe Eunice posted, our zoning officer, and Joe Eunice resigned today. So we are getting in touch with him to get proof of the posting. If we have to, we'll leave the record open to do that. Okay?
He just said he emailed it to us. But anyway, I'll forward it to you.
Now, if I could just ask a few preliminary questions to get into the record. Gentlemen, do we stipulate that this property in question is in the R1 low-density residential district?
Yes.
And according to your zoning application, you are invoking and referring us to section 125, 125-22, multifamily dwellings of the Waymart Borough Code under zoning. Is that correct?
No.
Okay,
It's 125-31,
I have
which
that also.
is the non-conforming uses.
Okay,
You are correct that section 22, 125-22, does, that's where the zoning ordinance has regulations regarding multifamily dwellings.
okay. If I could read paragraph 8, maybe I don't have the right application, but conditional use zoning application dated August 1st, 2025. Is that the one we're operating under?
Yes.
Okay, paragraph 8 says cite the applicable sections of the zoning ordinance. You have section 125-22 entitled multifamily dwellings. Are we still proceeding under that or no?
It is cited because it does normally, if this was a project that was not under the change in non-conforming use, then in fact that would be the only section that would really be pertinent. In this situation, the section 31 says that you can change a non-conforming use, including expanding onto an adjacent property. You still want to look at what the requirements are for section 22 about multifamily dwellings. But just as the existing use, which is the 30 units that have been there at the intersection of Gravity Plain Road and Carbondale, they are non-conforming. And because that property is adjacent, and because 31F of your ordinance says that you can expand onto a neighboring property, adjacent property, we're invoking that. We will not be able to meet the requirements, some of them, but not all of the requirements of section 22,
Okay,
because this is a non-conforming situation.
okay. You also cite applicable sections of the zoning ordinance 125-45. You also invoking that?
Yeah, Chris, if I may, paragraph 8 starts off by saying section 25-31.
I know.
125-31,
Yeah.
and then
Then
it goes on to,
22.
and then it goes on to cite 125-22 and section 125-45.
Okay, so I'll change my question then, all right, I'll rephrase it. Are you guys invoking sections 125-31, 125-22, and 125-45?
They are all relevant, yes.
Good. Gentlemen, if I could, attach to your application, you have a narrative, so I'd like to read it to everybody, and then I'll read the second narrative that you proposed tonight. Is that okay with everybody? Application of the Wayne County Housing Authority Conditional Use Narrative. The applicant is seeking conditional use approval for a change of a non-conforming use as provided for in section 125-31, subsection F of the zoning ordinance. The applicant owns the property that adjoins the subject property located at the intersection of Carbondale Road and Gravity Plain Road, identified with the Wayne County tax parcel number. Parcel 25 is improved by 30 multifamily dwelling units, MFDs, that were built in the 1980s and serve housing needs. Parcel 25 is in the R1 zoning district, which does not allow for multifamily dwellings. So this use is non-conforming, both as to the use as well as being non-conforming as to many of the dimensional requirements in section 125-22 of the ordinance, which regulates multifamily dwellings. Subsection 31F is entitled Extensions onto Other Properties, and it provides that a non-conforming use can be expanded or extended to an immediately adjacent property, which is the case here. The applicant is seeking to establish these new multifamily dwellings to be restricted to seniors and veterans, and it is not feasible to expand the buildings on parcel 25. Multifamily dwellings are not prohibited in the borough, as they are allowed in the RR and R2 districts. The density for the proposed units, being 36 units proposed on the 2.6 acre parcel, will be about the same as the density on parcel 25. So the proposed use would not be more non-conforming. In addition to subsection F of section 31, there are no issues with any of the other subsections of section 31. The applicant will be submitting a request to the zoning hearing board for 2 variances. One is for the height to go to 45 feet, with the ordinance limit being 35 feet. The second being to allow more than 10 multifamily dwelling units to be in one building. The applicant is proposing 1 3-story building containing all 36 units, rather than 5 buildings like on parcel 25. This is more economical and also reduces the building footprint, so there will be less lot coverage and more open space. Okay, that's the narrative from the applicant, everybody. Now, this is the narrative that was provided tonight. It's a revised conditional use narrative. Are we still working with that original narrative, or do you don't want that part of the record?
We,
Do you want them to work together?
this clarifies the fact that while we're still talking about the same property and the same project, this actually refers to the fact that what's being proposed is 44 units. That's the only significant change,
Okay.
although there are a couple of other things that are noted in this revised narrative that were not in the one that was submitted in August that you just read.
Okay, so let me read this to everybody. The applicant is seeking conditional use approval for a change of a non-conforming use as provided for in section 125-31, subsection F of the zoning ordinance. The applicant owns the property that adjoins the subject property located at the intersection of Carbondale Road and Gravity Plain Road with a tax parcel. The adjoining property upon which the new development is proposed is identified by Wayne County tax parcel number 2806024. Parcel 25 is improved by 30 multifamily dwelling units, MFDs, that were built in the 1980s and serve housing needs. Parcel 25 is in the R1 zoning district, which does not allow for MFDs, multifamily dwellings. So this is a non-conforming use, both as to the type of use as well as being non-conforming as to many of the dimensional requirements in section 125-22 of the ordinance, which regulates MFDs. Subsection 31F is entitled, quote, "Extensions onto other properties," end quote, and it provides that a non-conforming use can be expanded or extended to an immediately adjacent property, which is the case here with respect to parcel 24. The applicant is seeking to establish these new MFDs to be restricted to seniors and veterans, and it is not feasible to expand the buildings on parcel 25, and there is no space for any new buildings on that parcel. MFDs are not prohibited in the borough, as they are allowed in the RR, R2, CG, CN, and CR zoning districts. The density for the proposed units being 44 units proposed on the 2.6 parcel. So the original proposal was 36 units, and now it is 44 units this evening, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
44 units proposed on the 2.6 acre parcel. In addition to subsection F of section 31, there are no issues with any of the other subsections of section 31. The applicant will be submitting a request to the zoning hearing board for 2 variances. One is for the height to go to 45 feet, with the ordinance limit being 35 feet in the R1 zone, although it is 50 feet in all other zones, and the second being to allow more than 10 MFDs to be in one building. The applicant is proposing 1 3-story building containing all 44 units, rather than 5 buildings like on parcel 25. This is more economical and also reduces the building footprint, so there will be less lot coverage and more open space. The standard setbacks will be met, except for the setback in section 22 of 100 feet from the R1 district, which is another nonconformity for the existing housing authority project on parcel 25. We will demonstrate that there is a need for this type of housing and that it is in harmony with the Waymart Borough Comprehensive Plan. It will have no substantial adverse impact on adjacent properties, the neighboring area, or the health, safety, and public welfare of the community. It will not burden the borough's facilities or services, as there are available sewer and water utilities, and with it restricted to seniors. Will not have an impact on police services. Gentlemen, are you adding this as an addition or a revision to the application? Because this is different than your
It's a
application.
revision.
Okay. And it'll be accepted as that. Okay, for the newspaper, I have proof of service, if we could enter this as the Borough Exhibit 1. Which is proof of advertisement on September 13th, 2025, and September 20th, 25. This is an affidavit of publication, and it is notarized by Mariah Verhagen, and this is from the Tri-County Independent, a daily newspaper. Gentlemen, would you like me to read the notice that was posted in the newspaper, or would you waive the reading?
I would wait.
We'll wait. Thank you.
I did review it in the paper, thank you.
Anyone else need to sign this?
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, it's your, I think you went to the zoning hearing board for Waymart Borough, right? And is it your plan to go back to them?
We have not yet gone in front of the zoning hearing board because it doesn't make sense to go in front of them until this issue is determined. So we have not formally gone in front of the zoning hearing board.
There had been a previous appearance, but since we filed the new application in August, we haven't actually appeared before the zoning hearing board. They had planned on keeping it open, and we indicated that if they would continue it indefinitely until we got a decision on this conditional use, that made the most sense.
Okay. Gentlemen, you could present your case. I did hear Mr. Shook saying he had to be somewhere else, so I don't know if you want to take him out of line and question him first.
I appreciate that suggestion, that's what I was gonna do. You've already heard the introduction anyway, a good part of it with respect to the number of units, the properties involved, and why we are proceeding with the change in non-conforming use. The property that's been there since the late eighties has 30 units on it. You're gonna hear testimony that it's not feasible to try and add more units onto those existing buildings, for a lot of reasons, just structurally it's not. Also, there's not any room on that property to do anything else. So we're proposing to do it on the adjacent property, which is, the only thing that is on there now is the Housing Authority office. There's a fair amount of support in the community for this, and one of the parties that is supporting this project is the commissioners. So if I could have, actually, I did list the 5 people that I intended to call as witnesses, Mr. Shook being one of them. If they could all stand to be sworn in now, if that's all right with you, Chris?
Yes,
That would avoid
yes,
forgetting that.
that's fine, yeah.
I mentioned that to the stenographer while we were waiting. So Joe, Judy, Marty, Jude's already standing, and then Jim, if you could all raise your right hand, she'll swear you.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Mr. Shook, you have the floor.
Hi, I'm just here as one of your Wayne County Commissioners to support this project. Wayne County did a housing study about 2 years ago, saw the need for affordable housing across the whole county, and it's predicted that by 2035, we're gonna need additional, at least 3,000 homes in Wayne County. There's been a property in Salem Township, Lake Township, out at the industrial park that was sold last year to develop a large warehouse housing project, warehouse for transportation and distribution. That's expected to employ about 700 jobs. So there's a need, if this housing could actually get through and approved, it's gonna free up other housing throughout the county. The need's there, so I'm here as your Wayne County Commissioner, as the other two are out tonight on different meetings and couldn't make it here, but they have the full support of the Wayne County Commissioners to move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions of Commissioner Shook.
So at this point, we go around the room, okay? Gentlemen, do you object to our planning commission member from asking questions, and do you object to the mayor asking questions if they haven't?
No. The planning commission member, no, I don't see any reason. That's a little out of the ordinary, but I don't know why he has to be qualified as a party since he's, and since we appeared before him back in September.
Just not as a party, but what we did last time, and if you guys don't object, what we would do when they're gonna deliberate, when we come back and deliberate, as the sole member of the planning commission, he can give his opinion then, and then he'll leave the room, and then borough council will take their vote. Okay, after
Well,
deliberation, if you object to it, that's fine.
I would object to the deliberation part because I believe that's only the parties that have to make the decision and council.
No, he's not in for the,
Oh, I thought you said he was gonna go in and give his opinion and then leave the room, so.
yeah, but not deliberate, just his opinion on behalf of the planning commission.
Well,
And that's,
but Chris, isn't it, the planning commission already met on this, and in fact,
they made
it was
a,
our understanding, they voted and they were gonna vote to recommend approval of the project. So I'm just curious as to why he now is going to question when he already had an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
So I think I
Object, we
would
won't do it.
object to that.
yeah,
Right.
no, I,
For that
that's true.
particular reason, I mean, there was,
That's
right.
fine.
We were here with all of our witnesses to make a presentation. There's a little question as to whether there was a quorum available then.
and
That's
But
fine.
they agreed that there was, and they
Good
took
enough.
a vote. The zoning officer commented at the time.
What about the mayor? Do you object to him asking any questions?
He's a member of council, he certainly can ask questions, yeah.
Okay. Teresa, do you have any questions for this witness?
No.
Donnie Miller, do you have any questions for the witness?
I do not.
Shane Bailey, do you have any
I do
questions?
not.
Jane Varco, do you have any
I
questions?
have no questions.
Randy Thorpe, do you have any questions?
No.
Mayor Norella, do you have any questions?
No, thank you for your presence.
Mr. Hermans, you are entitled to ask questions also of the witnesses. As an intervener and the only intervener in the room, you're the only other one that's allowed to ask questions. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Shook. I believe you could, I have no reason for you to stay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being here.
And I'll state for the record, there were 15 letters of support attached to your application, even though they're hearsay, we're gonna let them go into the record anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Your next witness, please.
Oh, actually, Dave Gregory is going to make a brief presentation about the fair housing law, and then he's going to introduce Ms. Blaskowitz.
As a part of our application, folks, there was a reference that we would designate that the plan, and the borough code, were in essence, supportive of this application, and were a big part of the reason why, the housing authority, is moving forward with this. And, we would, point out that, in chapter 17 of the Code of the Waymark Borough in section 1704, the Wayne County Housing Authority is designated, as an agency of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is designated as the official housing agency of the Borough of Waymark. One of the primary responsibilities of the authority in order to meet those needs, as the official housing agency of the borough, is that it is responsible for developing plans through rehabilitation of existing housing, or through the presentation of the erection of new housing to meet identified housing needs within the borough and the county. And we would submit, again, based on the housing studies that have been performed in this case, that's clearly what one of the purposes for this is. Secondly, I would also note that Waymark Borough, as part of its adoption of the zoning ordinance in compliance with the municipality's planning code, adopted a statement of community goals and objectives, which adopted the housing plan that is actually in place for the borough. And one of the stated objectives for that is that the borough should work with the Wayne County Housing Authority to identify potential sites and develop plans for elderly housing projects, precisely what this project is. And when the Housing Authority acquired this property back in 1993, as you can see from the deed which was attached, that was noted as being contiguous to the existing site where the Gravity Plains housing units currently are. Is that was something that I believe that at that time the Housing Authority recognized may be available to meet its mission in order to accomplish those goals. So with that, we would now present our first witness, who is Joseph Blaskowitz, the Executive Director of the Wayne County Housing Authority. Thank you very much.
Attorney Gregory, do you recall the date, or is it on there, the date that statement was made on behalf of Waymark Borough?
I'm sorry?
You just read in there that Waymark Borough has got a statement that they're to cooperate with, I think it was the Wayne County Housing Authority?
Sure.
Do you know when that statement was made by Waymark Borough?
Yeah, according to the Fair Housing Ordinance, May 1st, 1978.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Blaskowitz, you've been sworn in. Everyone knows you're the executive director. Could you address the question of need regarding the need for housing?
Yeah,
indicated by the commission?
I'm gonna address the needs of the housing. First, I'd like to thank the mayor, council members, and the solicitor for the opportunity to present the Housing Authority's proposed 44 one-bedroom senior veterans complex on the authority's land. I'll take you back to June 11, 2024, borough meeting. We had made our initial presentation to Borough Council looking for guidance on the importance of this project to the community we serve. Here we are 16 months later. So there is a housing shortage, all levels, local, state, and national. I got two sources, the housing study and commissioned by the Center for Rural Pennsylvania. First, the statistics from the Housing Needs and Assessment and Market Study that Commissioner Shook mentioned was adopted by the commissioners on February 23rd, 2023. The study kicked off June of 2022, and it took 6 months to complete. Many stakeholders were involved with the assistance of Wayne Tomorrow Housing Task Force, which some members are here tonight. Why do a study? The top request for assistance with the Wayne County's 211 informational reference service is housing. That's why the study was done. There are many takeaways from this study. The one tonight I'd like to focus on is on page 70. I always go to page 70. 1,528 new permanent housing units will be required by the end of calendar year 2030, and that is not very far off. This new housing will largely be needed by senior households, especially those aged 75 to 85, who are seeking lower maintenance housing adapted to senior living. The second source, the most recent one, is the Center for Rural Pennsylvania Comprehensive Analysis of Supply, Demand, and Affordability of Senior Housing in Rural Pennsylvania. And that was recently completed on September 30th of 2025. I have that here. The key takeaways from that was housing conditions and affordability are a critical concern. Many rural seniors reside in aging homes with significant proportion. 51% of those homes are constructed before 1970. The increased cost of housing worsens affordability issues, particularly for extremely low and very low income seniors who struggle to secure affordable rental options. The study estimates that the demand for housing exclusively for low-income seniors far exceeds the supply, leaving thousands of low-income seniors without viable options. Over 16,400 low-income renters in rural Pennsylvania, 45% of our rural low-income seniors are expected not to have viable housing options in the future, creating a pronounced need for policy solutions. The survey was submitted for rural county area on aging throughout the state. All the aging offices completed this survey. And I'd like to further that to our exhibit, we had over 20 letters of support for our projects, including our state, county, and local officials, local businesses, banks, and the fire company.
John, just a quick interruption for clarification purposes. In the original application and even in the narrative, referred to this housing being for seniors and veterans. You've been emphasized it's gonna be senior. Is there gonna be a restriction as you see it for it to be seniors only, but with preferences for veterans?
Yeah,
Wayne County residents?
it's gonna be 62 plus seniors and 62 plus veterans.
Okay.
And
So veterans under 62 would not be eligible for this housing,
No,
right?
but they would be eligible for housing on our Section 8 program and for our existing project, Gravity Plains and Parker Street in Albany,
But not this new proposal?
but not this new proposal.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
The next part I'd like to touch upon is our existing site. Currently, the Wayne County Housing Authority cannot expand on the existing site. Gravity Plains is a 30-unit complex. We're at max. It was built in July of 1981. And as you can see, we've done many renovations. We put new roofs, new siding, windows, doors, and we're on our last phase, which is concrete sidewalks and paving the parking lots and the road going up to the Gravity Inn, because the Housing Authority does own that road. So that will be in the next year to 18 months. So we're excited about that. Hopefully we get a lot of compliments on it, and it was something we always wanted to do. So my next part I'd like to focus on is the property that we own. So the Housing Authority does own approximately 2.6 acres of land, which is ideal for housing development. This property is adjacent to Gravity Plain Apartments. The land has all the available utility connections, water, sewage, and natural gas, and this will be further expanded on by the additional witnesses.
How about the development of it in terms of how it gets built, if you will?
Yeah, I would like, that's my next, if I may refer to council for a second.
Yeah, no, we just get that.
The next part is the proposed development. So the Wayne County Housing Authority development of this project is to partner with a private developer. Housing authorities often collaborate with developers through low-income housing tax credit projects. Developers apply for tax credits via the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. Housing authorities may support the project with vouchers, gap financing, or letters of support. The resulting units are typically rent restricted for low-income households. The Wayne County Housing Authority chooses to work with the United Neighborhood Centers of Northeast PA, which I will introduce to you in a moment. United Neighborhood Centers of Northeast PA are also members of the Wayne County Housing Task Force, which we have 45 members strong, and actively we meet monthly on the third Thursday at 1 o'clock. We have about approximately a dozen to 2 dozen members that participate. Wayne County Housing Authority has toured a few of their properties that they construct and manage. UNC brings the capital, design, and construction expertise. Together, we are revitalizing a vacant site into a safe, modern community asset that benefits the borough residents and the local economy. Lastly,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
If I might.
Yeah.
So there would be in effect a partnership with UNC in terms of how this could be developed.
Correct.
What about once the building's constructed? First of all, who would own the property?
The housing authority will own the property. The housing authority will always own the property.
And how does it get built? What's gonna be the ownership with respect to the actual structure if this gets approved and land development approval and all that?
The tax entity would have a long-term lease to finance, build, and operate the housing project.
But the housing authority would still control the real estate?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna go on the record, we are not selling that land. We are partnering with a developer to fill the void, 44 needs for our seniors and our veterans.
And would it be appropriate that that lease, and of course you'll take the advice of your solicitor, but that lease would have requirements in it that they would have to meet the expected goals
Yes.
of how it would be operated?
Yep.
And then that even if somehow that wasn't happening, that you would have the right to terminate the lease?
Correct. Yeah, they would have compliance with the Pennsylvania Housing Finance.
Which the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency requires a minimum of 45 years for a lease.
And that property would go on the tax rolls. So Waymark Borough would benefit, Wayne County would benefit, and Western Wayne School District would benefit the tax revenue.
So I guess we can introduce the folks from UNC, since that makes the most sense.
Yes.
And I'm gonna hand out, if you wanna introduce them while I hand out this
Yes.
brochure, that'd be good.
Yes. I'd like to introduce our partners, Marty Fada.
Thank you.
And Joy Husband.
Sorry, Joy, we called you Martin.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll first add, should I move? Like, I know this post here.
You wanna switch?
Well, we're not calling anybody yet, we need cross-examination, everybody have the opportunity
That's
for
true,
questions.
just about. You're not done because
Oh.
they would have a right to ask you
Okay.
questions. They may or may not, but they have a right to.
Okay, everybody, it's your opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Blaskowitz with any questions that you have. Teresa Stratton, any questions?
No.
Donnie Miller, any questions?
I do. So you're saying this is for 62 plus only?
62
Seniors
plus
and veterans.
seniors and 62 plus veterans.
Now, we have a fabulous fire company. Do you think they would be able to handle a 44-unit, 3-story building?
Yes. I would agree. We do have a fabulous fire company, and they would, yeah. I'm confident of that. I mean, well, they would have to. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With that, they issue a letter of support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Shane Bailey, any questions?
No, I don't think so. It's basically the same, I mean, you gave a presentation months ago, so it's really the same.
Well, the age change.
Not much change.
Jane Varco,
No questions?
Randy Thorpe,
No questions.
Mayor Norella.
Yes, I have one. Joel, how many do you have on the waiting list for gravity planes? You know, how offhand? Yes?
Gravity planes, they probably have about 50.
No.
I'm talking about gravity plane, just gravity.
Yeah, just go on.
If I may, can I,
No cheating, folks. She's gonna testify, she can correct you.
this gravity planes, this might,
That's the assistant director or something.
She's gonna
She
testify.
knows
Isn't she? All right.
over 100
Over 100.
for gravity.
Thank you.
Any more questions there?
No, that's enough.
Mr. Hermans, it's your opportunity to ask questions if you like, sir.
I have no question.
Gentlemen, your next
And
witness.
now, we'll call Marty Fava.
We're gonna mark this, or is this one already marked?
That was Mark, that was at A3, I wrote it on the one I handed
A3,
for
Tom.
initially.
That was
Is it A4?
This isn't the plan A3?
No.
No.
Oh, you originally.
Brochure I have is A3,
Okay.
gentlemen,
Yep.
okay?
You're correct.
So as long as your numbers are lined up, we're good.
Marty, you've already been sworn in, do you wanna briefly explain who you are and what UNC is, and what its role is, and
Yeah.
also how it interacts in this community already?
Yes. My name is Martin Foda. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at United Neighborhood Centers of Northeastern Pennsylvania. UNC, I'm going to call for short. We've been in existence for 102 years, based out of Scranton. We serve thousands of people every year through varying programs and services, including homeless programs. We have child care centers. We operate senior centers in Lackawanna County. We have community education and community health programs. But in 2006, the administration at the time saw the need to, that there was a need for a lot of our families, they needed housing. So we decided to start developing our own housing and formed a separate nonprofit that falls under UNC, which is United Neighborhood Community Development Corporation. The handout that I passed you is the work that United Neighborhood Community Development Corporation has done in housing development since 2006. And so since that time, I personally have been at the head of overseeing the housing development since 2010. We've completed 12 different projects, primarily through the federal low-income housing tax credit program. And you want me to get into what that is?
Basically, well, as it relates to how this property would be developed, if the appropriate approvals are granted.
It is, yes. So while we do other smaller housing developments, in order to build anything of this scale, the low-income housing tax credit program since 1986 has been the primary way to develop affordable housing units throughout the United States. Currently, we have, like I said, we've completed 12. We have 2 under pre-development right now. The nearest being in Honesdale Borough. In Honesdale Borough, we're just about 2 years further along there, where we have much more detailed drawings, and we've submitted an application for low-income housing tax credits with the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency.
Let me be real quick, that's 42 units that are being proposed there, I believe?
That's 42 units of family housing. And so that different from
Not
here.
age restricted.
Exactly, it's not age restricted, and there's 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units there.
As opposed to here, which is all one bedroom.
All 1
units.
bedroom units and for seniors who are 62 years of age or more.
Okay, and actually, these projects have all been in northeastern Pennsylvania, the 12 that you're talking about?
Correct, yeah, we're United Neighborhood Centers of Northeast Pennsylvania, that's our area of focus. The furthest development that we have is in Carbon County, in Jim Thorpe, but most of our developments fall in, and you can kind of see in the opening pages of that brochure, most are in Lackawanna County. We do operate 2 in Luzerne County, and like I said, we are in pre-development here in Honesdale.
And have you worked with a local contractor on most of those projects?
Most of those projects, we work with Grim Construction from right here in Waymart. They're a great partner, and they get all of the compliance that is required in low-income housing tax credit developments.
And you mentioned compliance. Does the PHFA, that's the financing agency that can qualify for these tax credits,
Correct.
do they have an ongoing role once the while it's being built, but more importantly, once it's been built?
Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency has a role at every step of it, from this point, really just beginning the conversations with them, right on through construction, and then forevermore, as long as they're in their portfolio. So anything that has been funded since 1986 through the low-income housing tax credit program, PHFA still has a finger on making sure that all of the developers and property managers are compliant.
And should I be turning to Joy Hubsman for some of that more detailed information, or would you want to continue?
Either way, Joy is gonna speak about the property management. She oversees the property management and the services at all of our developments.
Okay. Would it be all right if I had her, they're kind of tag teaming, if you will, and then we could have questions? Or would you rather have questions again? Because Marty might jump back in, that's the only reason I say that.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Okay. Joy,
Yes,
possibly you could stand just so everybody at least sees where you are.
sure.
Could you describe briefly what your role is with UNC?
Yes, so my role, as Marty said, is the property management operations of the properties that we own and manage. So I'm the Director of Community Housing Development. So that starts at development, the pre-development, managing through the construction, and then once the building is constructed, UNC, we don't not only own and develop it, we also manage it. So we oversee all the management and operations. The property here in Waymart will have an on-site property management team. That'll include an on-site manager as well as maintenance. And then the other staff person that we have at all of our properties is what we call a service coordinator. A service coordinator is a great addition to the buildings and the properties because that is the person that's going to connect the residents of the building to all of the resources in the Wayne County and Waymart community. So if that veteran or if that senior needs transportation, if there's some food insecurities, whatever it may be, even community engagement, working within the building, making sure there's activities and things of that nature. So we're not only going to develop it, as Marty said, we're going to manage it. We're here to be on site and making sure that the building is, operating effectively, even, beyond construction. Just to add to the compliance with the Housing Finance Agency, as Marty said, PHFA doesn't go away. We are mandated to yearly inspections, very much like the Housing Authority is with HUD, but PHFA does their own inspections. So they come through, they make sure all of the apartments, all of the property is well maintained to keep that standard for the community and for the residents of the building. In addition to that, all of our files, so when we move folks in, we have, documents that we have to gather at application. PHFA comes in every year, they do an audit of all of our files. And so all of that would be within compliance and, like I said, continue. So we will make sure of all that. We're required to through the state agency.
So the PHFA would also have a role in making sure that the eligibility requirements are being met and maintained?
Yes, so there will be income guidelines. It is 62 and over, as everyone shared. We, can't stray from that. This will all be looked at every year when we move people in, move people out. They check our files annually. We also have what's called a tenant selection plan. A tenant selection plan is a required document that is approved through the Housing Finance Agency. That's where we'll, show that there is a veteran's preference. The other thing I'll mention, they are all one bedrooms, so we're limited to like 2 people max in an apartment, so it's not like you're gonna see overcrowding in the buildings or anything like that.
And would, you mentioned preference, would preference also be given to Wayne County residents, the seniors
Yep.
that are Wayne County
Yep,
residents?
we can do preferences for Wayne County and veterans in the selection plan, as well as that age requirement.
I don't have any other questions unless you have anything else you want to add, Marty, before cross-examination.
Can I just briefly describe low-income housing tax credits? Because I think I can pretty easily. So low-income housing tax credits, they're awarded from PHFA and they come through the IRS. So this type of housing is not developed through HUD, which most affordable housing in the past have. And so once we get awarded low-income housing tax credits, that usually covers about 60% of the entire project cost. And so we need to come up with the other 40% that aren't through low-income housing tax credits. And that can come through local sources, through state sources. through federal sources, through donations, through foundations, a whole variety of different sources in order to meet that need of those soft costs. Total project costs right now are running somewhere between $15 and $20 million. So like the tax credits will cover quite a bit of that, but there's still a ton of other money that needs to be raised. So then once we're awarded the low-income housing tax credits, we sell those to an equity investor. And so then there forms a partnership between us as the developer, we are the general partner of this partnership, and an equity investor. Here in Wayne County, we're hoping that it's local Wayne County banks. So then the local banks and us would kind of form a partnership, and then we would really own the building together, with us managing it and them providing the funds.
And as a limited partner, they wouldn't have any decision-making capacity, right? That would be
Correct.
the general partner.
Correct, yep.
I have nothing else of these witnesses, so if there's any questions.
Teresa Stratton, do you have any questions?
No.
Donnie Miller, do you have any questions?
No.
Shane Bailey, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Jane Varco, do you have any questions?
No.
Randy Thorpe, do you have any questions?
No.
Mayor Chip Nerella, do you have any questions?
Yes. We have in our audience the ex-mayor of Carbondale, Justin Taylor, and I think he could be proud, and you can be proud of the project of the old General Hospital. I was up there the other day, that is awesome. And it's in this pamphlet, and I can send it around, everyone wants to see it. There's 36 multi-family units, and boy, did that improve the property. And that is beautiful up there.
Thank you.
Chip,
Great job.
let me ask you again, do you have any questions?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any other questions, Chip?
No, sir.
Okay.
Apologize.
Randy, do you have any questions?
No.
Mr. Hermans, your opportunity if you have any questions.
No, I don't.
I just have a couple of questions. Who will be leasing the building from the Wayne County Housing Authority?
Technically, the partnership would be leasing. So it's a to-be formed partnership, again, between us as the developer and whomever the equity investor is.
Okay. So you used an interesting term, you said the equity investor and yourself will be the owners of the building, which is in contravention to the Wayne County Housing Authority owning the building. So who's going to own the building and the property?
The property will be owned by the Wayne County Housing Authority. The building itself will be owned by the partnership. It'll be a long-term land lease.
Okay. So is it a lease or an ownership?
Lease. Excuse me if I said that.
That's okay. I'm sure you didn't mean it. So you say we own the building together, you're gonna bring in investors into this project?
Correct.
So you are a non-profit organization.
Correct.
I'm assuming any investors would be looking for profit, is that a fair statement?
It is.
So it doesn't just have to be banks, it could be anybody that invests in this and becomes a partner in this project, right?
It can be, yes.
And how would the profit work? You're nonprofit, right? You can't draw profit, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we do not, we don't take any profit from it now.
Okay, is it 50-50? I mean, what's your normal percentage that
So
your
really,
organization works with?
so the funds come in so that the equity investor would buy the tax credits, and their earnings come from, they don't give us $1 per dollar. So say we get $1 million in tax credits, they might give us 90 cents on the dollar to get their rate of return that they need. So so the state agency would have $1 million in tax credits, they would give us $900,000 in equity for the property. And so that's how the equity investor really earns their money through that, through depreciation, through other
So,
things that
and I'm watching everybody's eyes glaze over, including mine. Maybe if we could put it in more general terms, if $1 million comes in after paying all the expenses and taxes and things, and $1 million comes in, who gets the $1 million?
So it's highly unlikely that there's ever any profit coming from these buildings. They generally just break even. However, in the partnership agreement, it's all spelled out like who would. So really, most of it would go back to repay any state loans that we get. And then really, if there's a distribution then, so if there's any outstanding fees from the time of construction, they would be paid off as part of the partnership agreement.
And what would be your group, United Neighborhood Community Development Corporation, what would be your relationship to the Wayne County Housing Authority?
We would be the leasing.
Okay, but would they operate it, and would they handle the paperwork, or you guys handle everything?
We handle everything.
Okay. Is there in your brochure, which has been marked as A3, are there any of these buildings that would be similar to the proposed building up here on the Carbondale Road?
So in the bottom right-hand corner, I think, so we just finished one in Dunmore Borough.
Bucktown Center.
Yeah, Bucktown Center, and that just opened this summer, and that's 40 units of senior housing. So that's similar.
Is that kind of what it would look like?
Similar,
Okay.
yeah. Do we have?
We have a rendering.
We have a,
We do have a rendering here, yeah.
That's 4-story then.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Joy Hupschman.
Thank you, Joy. Joy, how would you ensure that your prohibition on residents under 62 years of age would never change?
Well, because with the compliance that we have to adhere to every year with PHFA, they look at our files, and if we have someone in there that's under the age of 62, we have to show proper identification. We're not in compliance, and then that could jeopardize the partnership and then their tax credits.
Could that change, though, where you could
This-
change the status from 62 and over to under 62? Is there any way to change it?
No.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have now. Does anybody have any questions? Gentlemen, you first, based on the questions I asked.
Briefly direct with Marty. Marty, and I'm being educated on this as well, but with respect to the tax credit entity, as we refer to it, would it be correct for me to assume that if I wanted to invest in that, that's because I would be wanting to get tax credits that I could apply against other income that I have and for whatever reasons, right?
Correct.
I really wouldn't be looking to get paid a check every month or every year or anything like
No.
that, right? No. So there would not be money returned. But if I happen to have a decent income, I could apply those tax credits so that I wouldn't have to pay the IRS as much tax every year, correct?
Precisely.
So that's the real investment tool.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very illuminating.
I understand, not simple.
Back around the room, Teresa, do you have any questions based on the questions that were asked after you said you didn't have questions?
No.
Donnie Miller, any more questions?
No.
Shane Bailey?
No.
Jane Barclay?
No.
Randy Thorpe?
No.
Mayor Norella?
No, I said too much.
Never.
Mr. Hermans, do you have any questions based on everything you heard? Okay, thank you.
I'm going to, if I may, I'm going to call my last witness, and that'd be Jude Cooney with the A&E Group. He's appeared before you before, but I'll have him do a brief introduction, but primarily he wants to explain how the project is being proposed to be constructed and located on the property.
Okay, very little has changed since the last time I was here, well, in this room. And I see a lot of the same faces, so I'll briefly go over it. Again, this project is south of us on Carbondale Road. We're up in this area of the plan, if it was big enough. Does everyone know the existing offices of the Housing Authority? That would be this building here on Carbondale Road. The existing project with the 5 buildings is at the top of the sheet, and what we're proposing is to do the 44 units at the back of the site, behind the office building, bounded by Gravity Plains Road in the back, and then again Carbondale Road. As far as access, we're not looking for new access points. We're going to use the existing driveway. We're not changing the access to this existing project up here. There won't be any cross traffic in between them. We're not looking for an access on the Gravity Plain either. It would just be access from Carbondale Road. Again, this project here, the 5 buildings, is a 60-bed project. It's a multifamily 60-bed project. we're just looking for 44 beds on this property. So from that standpoint, we see it as a less intensive use, you know, let's say, less non-conforming use. As far as dimensional variances, we basically comply with all the setbacks for the R1 zone. The closest we have is a 16-foot setback to the existing project. It's a 15-foot is what the ordinance requires. The existing building is 15 feet. We're actually gonna be 16 feet. From Carbondale Road, we're back maybe 400 feet, 300 plus feet. We actually consider this backyard here behind the building on Gravity Plains as a front yard, just because it is a way, but it's a private road. We're maintaining the 30 feet. We're gonna maintain the tree buffer there as well. If we need to, we could always, supplement the trees with some landscaping if we need to. We will landscape as necessary any boundaries between, the project if it's necessary and the adjoiner on the south side of the property.
What about parking?
Sure. With parking, again, we're looking at 1 stall per unit, which is typical for senior apartments. Usually there's just 1 car for each apartment, and usually it's often a lot less. For the Bucktown project, that's the Dunmore project, I think we only have maybe 15 stalls. We don't even have 1 stall per unit. It's a little different because it's urban, but for a lot of the projects that we've worked on in the past, one stall is typical. So we have 44 stalls of parking for our project, which is 44 beds, and in comparison, this project up here has 41 stalls for 60 beds. Again, it's a little different, but we have more parking on a per bed basis than the project at the top in the existing project.
So would it be correct that the ordinance, if you were doing this from scratch and not a non-conforming situation, would require, it says that there would be 2 spaces per unit. Now, it doesn't differentiate between 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom.
Right, and it doesn't differentiate between elderly
Right.
and, let's say, multifamily either.
So this would still be a non-conformity, but it'd be less
Yes.
non-conforming than
Yes,
the existing project.
less
the Gravity
non-conforming
Plains.
than the existing project.
Okay, good.
Yes. Now, we will maintain 11 stalls for the existing office building, and I think they have like 7 employees down there. So there will be some additional stalls if in the very unusual event that all the stalls were ever filled.
How about stormwater? How's that gonna be managed?
So at the last meeting in this, here was, the zoning hearing, there was some requests for, more open space. And actually reviewed that with the Housing Authority and UNC. And what we decided to do was where we had the proposed pond between the office building and the proposed building, we decided to try to make that open space. We show a pavilion there. We'd like to do that if funds are available. We don't know if, how that will work because funds are always tight. But we show a pavilion. The way stormwater would be handled in this area is we do an underground system. So what we do is there's actually these chambers you could buy that they're hollow. We've also used just pipes, and then they're perforated. You fill the area around it with stone. It acts as like a French drain, and the water goes in there, infiltrates into the ground. We would still need to connect it down to these limits on Carbondale Road just for any overflow, but it's all underground. You wouldn't see any stormwater.
So the only other question, we've indicated that there's a variance request gonna be needed. That has to do with, 2 items. One, there's a requirement which is a little bit unique, but it says that you can't have more than 10 units in a building.
Right.
Which I assume is true of the buildings that are over on the existing project. But
Actually,
why?
I think one of those has 12 units.
Okay,
Is it
well,
12? Wasn't it?
It'd be grandfathered in.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but, the other one is in the height.
Yeah.
Isn't it correct that in the 5 zones in Waymart Borough where multifamily housing is allowed, the height limitation is 50 feet?
That's correct.
Not 35.
That's correct.
In fact, the R1 is the only one that has a 35-foot height.
Correct.
So it's anticipated that that would be okay
Mm-hmm.
and compatible with a development like a 3-story building as long as it didn't go over 50 feet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing, if we were to try to break this into 4 or 5 buildings, I mean, you would take up the whole site. The office building would be gone. I don't even think it would actually fit.
Might not even fit.
Right, you remove all the green space that you have. You know, you add more sidewalks, you have a lot more cost because you have to bring utilities to all those buildings, a lot more earth disturbance. It's really impractical, infeasible. And for a project like this, where seniors, you wanna have an elevator, so you'd end up having elevators in every building if you're gonna go 2 stories, you know? It just, the cost is astronomical, and I don't think it would be affordable from my experience doing these projects, but I don't do the finance. I've never seen it.
You have been involved in other similar
Yes,
projects
yes.
which UNC's been involved with, right?
Yes, and all the projects I've been involved with, whether it's UNC or a few others, it's always been a 1-story senior project with basically one parking stall per unit, similar to what's being provided here.
And
Or
ju-
less parking, that is.
Just to educate people that don't go to these meetings on a regular basis
Mhm.
like you do, or I used to. This plan, if it was approved, if this conditional use was approved,
Mhm.
this doesn't allow the project to go forward with building, right? There has to be a
No.
whole nother layer of approval.
Yeah, so we have some zoning issues, but also we would go to planning commission. We'd have to conform with the Waymart Borough SALDO, subdivision land development ordinance, the Waymart Borough stormwater ordinance, you know, as well. And also the
Eventually
conservation
building
district.
code and that kind of
Yes,
thing.
oh, yes.
But
of
land
course,
development
building
would
code.
have to be where you'd show the details of this plan, right?
Yes, I'm sure I'll be back in this room several times. No doubt
Hopefully.
about it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, if we're lucky enough.
Okay. I don't have any other questions of Mr. Kuhn.
Teresa Stratton?
Yes, one. When you mentioned the water runoff,
Yes.
so you're saying it would go down into the catch basins on Carbondale Road, or it's actually gonna go across and go into the creek across
we'll-
Carbondale Road?
We'll have infiltration tests done to try to infiltrate as much of the water into the ground as possible. So we'll actually have contractor come out before construction's even started during design to dig some test pits to see what we could infiltrate into the ground. And then whatever can't be infiltrated, or when there's, let's say, a large storm, let's say a 25-year storm, whatever that overflow would be connected into. We have a detention pond down here. Right now, this isn't designed, but I'm suspecting that we will design it so that we tie into that pond, and it would go into the system that's in Carbondale Road, the PennDOT system in Carbondale Road.
Because right now we do have a lot of water that comes down Carbondale Road and creates a lot of flooding.
So this would be,
And
yes,
it
it will not be
does
directed-
come off of the hill as well, so all the houses like Myrtle Street, Merwin,
Yeah.
and down get a lot of water that comes off that hill as well.
This will not be directed onto the road, but to the storm system underground, in the
Okay.
road, the existing storm pipes in the ground. And it will be, there'll be less water going off this site at that time because we'll be infiltrating the water into the ground. And the system will be designed to retard the flow. So right now when you have a storm, the water hits the surface and it runs right off. This will be designed so that it actually needs to fill up first to a certain level, and then there'll be orifices at certain levels where the water will start going in. So it's got to fill up. So what that does is that lowers the peak. You know, so that instead of the peak water going all at once, it will go out in the course of a couple of days. It will slowly, infiltrate in the ground, and then it will slowly go into the pipes that will flow in. So it won't overload these systems down here.
And that is a requirement.
Yeah,
DEP enforces that you can have more water post-development than you have pre. Is
Right,
that
it's
correct?
DEP and it's also in the Waymart Stormwater Ordinance.
Anything else, Teresa?
I don't think so.
Donnie Miller?
How many proposed driveways do you have?
We're gonna use the existing driveway,
Just one driveway?
just one driveway.
How many entrances and exits does the building itself have?
Well, one entrance on the front. The building's not designed. I imagine we'll have stairwells on both sides. It'll be emergency exit only. Usually these are built with a corridor down the middle. Stairwell, emergency exit, then the main entrance in the front. A lot of these, just in my experience, I mean, the seniors don't even leave every day. They go out a couple times a week. There won't be a lot of traffic coming out of this driveway. There's an ITE manual, it's the 11th edition, I think we talked about it at the zoning hearing, that we will follow. It's the Institute of Transportation Engineers 11th edition. We'll assume 3 trips plus trips, from each unit a day. But that will never happen, but that's what we will design it towards.
Donnie, any more
No,
questions?
I'm done.
Shane Bailey?
Nope.
Jane Varco?
Does it have 2 elevators?
So that hasn't been designed, that'd be an architectural question. I'm not sure.
Are there gonna be any of
There'll definitely be an elevator.
them? Jane, any more questions?
No, thank you.
Randy Thorpe?
No questions.
Mayor Narella?
No questions.
Any statements? Mr. Hermans, do you have any questions, sir?
I don't.
Were you involved with the Bucktown Center project also?
Yes, I was.
You mentioned there's gonna be 1 parking stall per unit for this project, is that correct?
Correct.
And then you mentioned something about the existing buildings, but you mentioned bedrooms. How
Mhm.
many parking stalls per units in the existing buildings are there, you know?
So the units, that is a combination of like 2s and 3 bedrooms, but there's 41 total stalls.
And how many units are there?
30 units.
30.
And is there gonna be, last time you were here, there was a detention pond right in the middle of everything.
That
Is that
was,
still there?
no, that's been changed to green space based on some of the feedback we've received. We thought about putting a pavilion in there, we'll see if we do that, but all the water will be stored underground. We might have to do a little bit of a rain garden somewhere, but that's just minimal, and that's for DEP if they require it, but all the water would be, all the stormwater would be underground.
So I have, gentlemen, any redirect based on the questions that you heard?
No, I have none, thank you.
Shoot around one more time, based on the questions you heard. Teresa, any more questions?
No.
Donnie Miller?
No.
Shane Bailey?
No questions.
Jane Barco?
No.
Randy Thorpe?
No.
Mayor Narella?
No.
Mr. Hermans?
No.
I do have the rendering too, that we didn't show.
Oh, yeah.
These are some
Sorry, I
questions
forgot
on that,
about
what it would look like. This was just one concept of what it could look like, what the building could look like.
It's a flat roof?
I believe it would be flat or somewhat sloped.
General slope, doesn't it? I thought it was a general slope, but.
A general slope,
It's
yes.
just-
It would have to be sloped just to get the stormwater off, so it would be relatively flat.
Is that to scale with the parking and everything?
Yeah,
That's what you
that's relative.
anticipated would look like?
Yeah, it's relative to scale, so there's the main entrance here, the canopy.
And entrances on the side, or that's,
No,
Hasn't been
well, I
decided.
think they'd be just egress, like exits. I don't think that's, that'd be an operational issue, usually they don't want people coming in and out of those sites.
anybody on Borough Council have any questions on the rendering?
We'd like to mark that.
Yeah, I'd like to mark that as exhibit 8-5, I believe it should be.
Leave it out here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really, yeah.
yeah, sure. You may wanna look at it, I mean, obviously.
I have one.
Sure.
Okay, this is the front of the building, correct?
Yes.
Does the back of the building have fire escapes?
So,
Like stairs,
Yeah,
fire
that-
escapes?
so I wouldn't be, I'm not the architect designing it, but usually generally no. We try to do that with interior stairwells at the end of the building, so that you wouldn't have to go outside to go down. You'd have stairwells on each side, you'd have multiple egress points. It's, there's a building code that we would have to follow for that design.
Just as a really quick follow.
Yeah.
But those types of stairwells are, in fact, fire designed to be protective.
Yes, yes.
And even be
They're fire
shelters.
rated, so that.
Shelters, right,
Yes.
if needed, if there was a tornado or something like that.
Anybody else have any questions on the rendering? Jane?
I just wondered who came up with that painting scheme.
What would you like to see?
Well,
Probably an engineer.
I want it in more conformity with the ones that they just did there. You know, the beautiful job that they just did on the other apartments. I don't, what are those blacks?
I definitely pass that along.
It's not set in stone.
Can't do
I
this.
don't think they saw, I don't think they saw it in their defense
Anybody else have any questions on this?
You will be able to get a fire truck in the parking lot, correct?
So I did reach out to I left some messages with the fire department, but I mean, obviously we'll meet with them during the whole planning commission, the SALDO land development process, and accommodate whatever we need to, you know. That's typical, we always meet with the fire department.
Do you know the height from the ground up to the top floor windows?
I don't have that, I do not have that,
And how much is it from the ground floor to the height of the building?
I don't have that number either.
Do you have that, Tom?
It'd be
Well,
45
we
or less.
said 45 would be the highest
Max.
point,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be over that. So the windows are probably in the mid to upper 30s, my guess.
Okay.
The bottom of the window probably, 30 to 34, something like that. I'd guess based on that.
Anybody on Borough Council or Mayor or Mr. Hermans have questions based on that question?
No.
Move for the admission of all your exhibits?
Yes, I would. I was gonna do a brief summary on the goals, but maybe if Mr. Hermans, would wanna, if he has anything he wants to present, it might make sense to be a wrap up.
Mr. Hermans, you're the only other party in this room. That gives you the right to get up. If you wanna testify and make a statement, you can do that.
Yes.
If you have any exhibits, you can feel free to put them up here. But you have the floor, sir.
Okay.
You can stand if you like, or you can sit, whatever you like to do. You can stand up here and face the audience, whatever you like to do, sir.
Okay, I'm 80 years old, a veteran, Coast Guard era, and I'll give a little short story to show the need for this type of building for veterans. My wife died 4.5 years ago. Her estate forced me out of her home August 1st. I ended up living in my dilapidated old RV that had mold in the walls that I didn't know about. The day I moved out, I had RSV, childhood bronchial condition. By November, I was in full-blown pneumonia. The farmer where I was staying on his farm found me, couldn't wake me, got me to the hospital. I was down to 43% lung capacity. I had tried to get assistance from the VA hospital for financial help, but I was too weak even to fill out a piece of paper. Now, had a apartment building like this been available, I may not have had to suffer through what I went through. I almost died. I had to learn to walk again, talk and swallow again, and think clearly. I was delusional. I've recovered, and I'm an advocate for helping the homeless veterans like you wouldn't believe, because I know the pitfalls and the obstacles that are in the way. So this building is definitely a need in this community for Wayne County. And that's what I have to say.
Hold on, they get to ask you questions, okay? Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Herman? Anybody on Borough Council, Mayor,
Thank you for your service.
gentlemen, attorneys, any questions for Mr. Hermans?
No.
No?
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Hermans.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
You can sit down if you like, sir.
Just like to briefly touch on the appropriate criteria from your zoning ordinance to consider this matter. Obviously, that section 31 is the procedure as to how we've come to present this project. That section 31 also does have 6 other sections besides F, which is the one I concentrated on. I just want to briefly indicate that A, B, and C. The A is storage of materials, screening, and A and B. A and B really only apply to commercial uses and not to residential. C, the yards and setbacks, there be no additions, change, or expansion of the non-conforming use that would violate the setbacks, and or height regulations where it is located. As Jude indicated, we will meet the setbacks. There is one setback, and I mentioned that in the curative or the narrative that was revised. Section 22 of your ordinance that regulates multifamily dwellings does say that a multifamily dwelling project has to be at least 100 feet from a R1 district. Well, the existing one's right in the middle of it's in the R1 district, so obviously it can't meet that setback. But the normal setbacks, if you will, the regular property line setbacks, we are able to meet. The height limitation is not being met, which is why we're gonna seek a variance. But I didn't even realize this when we submitted the application, but after reading through the ordinance yet again in recent times, the 5 zones out of 7 in the town, in the borough, that allow multifamily dwelling, all have a height limitation of 50 feet. So I have to believe that it was intended that that would be something that the fire department could handle and that the borough could live with. It's only the the R1 is the only one that's 35 feet height. In fact, actually, the I industrial district that I'm familiar with, that has a height limitation of 60 feet. But I don't think that to impose that variance, since it's already established that multifamily dwellings as a non-conforming use could be allowed in this particular property in the R1 zone, I don't think it's a big stretch to say that the height limitation variance could be granted, especially if the fire company did not have a problem with it. And by the way, I would recommend that if you are hopefully able to approve this project, that you would say that it would, before land development project submitted, that would, our land development plan, that it would, we would have to consult with the fire company to make sure that they provided any help in terms of how design would be. So that kind of covers that. The only other things that are really relevant, the last one in the section that regulates changes of non-conforming uses is prohibited expansions. What that means is that you shouldn't be allowed to do something that's not allowed in the borough at all anymore. Multifamily dwellings are obviously allowed in the borough, they're just not zoned for R1. So that's not an issue. The only other section of the ordinance that I believe comes into play here is in fact the section regulating conditional uses, that's section 45, which we did cite in the application there. And that basically says it has 2 parts to it. One is the procedure to go through getting conditional use approval. The other one is that you should show that there's a need for the use. I don't think I have to say anything more about that. And that it's in harmony with your comprehensive plan. Your comprehensive plan in 2 different places talks about the need for making sure that you have housing and even refers to the Wayne County Housing Authority as your partner to do that. Then the second one is that it's not gonna have any significant adverse impact on adjoining properties or the community or the general health, safety, and welfare. There's been nobody coming in here to testify that, in fact, they believe it would have an adverse impact. So we don't have to prove a negative, but there isn't any basis to believe that it will have any significant impact. The third one is that it will not have an undue burden on municipal services. The reality is, fortunately you have a sewer and water system, and that's why these types of projects end up being located in boroughs, Mark, because that's where the sewer systems are. It's true in Hawley, it's true in Huntsville. But more importantly, this type of project with the limitation on the age, we don't believe will create any kind of a significant safety issue in this community. You are lucky enough to have a police force. The Wayne County Housing Authority supports that police force, which is good and important. But we don't think that that will be a reason why it would not be appropriate to grant conditional use approval. Thank you.
Mr. Hermans, you're entitled to a closing argument, although I think you already gave it. But you're entitled, sir, if you have anything else to say.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Now, let's open up to the public for statements. If anybody would like to make a statement, just please identify yourself, where you live, before you give your statement. Anyone?
Yeah, I'm Tim Madden, I work for Grim Construction. I just wanted to say that we've worked with United Neighborhood since 2006. We did probably 10 of those 12 projects maybe, and they stick by the projects long after they're done. They support them, they keep them clean, and they take care of them. So I'm here to speak for them.
Thank you. If anybody on Borough Council or the mayor would like to call anybody here to ask a question, you can do that. Go ahead.
Mr. Fire Chief Anderson, can you handle this project?
Can you identify, can you stand and state your full name for the record, sir, and where you work and what organization you represent?
I'm Joshua Anderson, I'm the chief of the Waymark Volunteer Fire Company. And yes, we will be able to handle this. The third story windows, if they are roughly 34 to 30, what you were saying, we got 35-foot ladders on 2 of our trucks. And when you call 911 for a commercial building in this borough, there's 3 ladder trucks on the road when Waymart is dispatched. So they're coming in as backup. One's coming from Browndale, the second one's coming from Maplewood, and the third one's coming from Holmesdale.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep, no problem.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief? Counselor, any questions?
No, that's very helpful, thank you.
Anybody else in the crowd that would like to make a statement? Yes, ma'am, please state your name for the record,
Kelly Hogerchak.
and you better spell the last name for the court reporter, please.
Hoherchak. Thank you. I live at 42 Belmont Street in Waymart. I just want to say that I just spoke with there is a VA clinic here in Wayne County it's located in Holmesdale. It's within the Wayne Memorial Community Health Centers. I spoke with them today. They service between 1,300 and 1,400 veterans out of that location alone in Holmesdale. And what I was told directly from them today is that they could fill that building just with the veterans that they service that need low-income housing, that can't afford basically where they're living, so they have to give up other things in order to make ends meet and go live month to month. So they, I know 100% have stated that it's much needed in Wayne County, and that a lot of veterans would definitely benefit from having that.
Thank you. Anybody else like to say anything?
I would if you wouldn't mind. Brian Jennings, RYANNE, from the Wayne County Community Foundation. And I just wanted to vouch as a nonprofit organization in Wayne County for the partnership that we've had with United Neighborhood Centers for many years. We are working closely with them to bring their services to Holmesdale as well. So we are in very much support of this project. We are not a direct service provider, and yet we get daily phone calls with people looking for support for housing. We have a housing discretionary fund in collaboration with the housing department at the county. We get daily phone calls of people struggling to afford the housing that is in our community. So we really look to the council to make sure that this project moves forward. We all, I think, have seen also the seniors living in homes that are too big for what they can accomplish to clean, maintain, and live in them. So we need more options for our seniors in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I did not plan to do this. I'm Margie Cocadrilli. I'm a member of the Wayne County Housing Authority Board. I'm not speaking on behalf of that. I'm also on the board of the Wayne County Redevelopment Authority. Since 1974, the Wayne County Redevelopment Authority has done the weatherization program in Wayne County, assisted hundreds and hundreds of people, seniors, all ages. The housing stock, particularly for the elderly in Wayne County, is horrendous. So there are 2 programs that have been in use for years. The weatherization program is probably not going to exist anymore. There is still funding left from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act of 3 years ago. Right now there's funding to continue that part of weatherization for 3 years. But we know that that funding can be clawed back tomorrow without any warning. If that's gone, there's no weatherization program in Wayne and Pike counties actually. Second program is the LIHEAP program. So some people are familiar with LIHEAP as fuel assistance. The beginning of the heating season, they can apply and their fuel provider gets a direct allocation of, tells them how much fuel can be delivered. Right now, there is no funding for that. If you go on their website, it will tell you you can apply, but there's no guarantee there's going to be any fulfillment of that. The second part of it that the Redevelopment Authority handles is the crisis component. Starting in November, generally in November, when somebody has a fuel or heating crisis, they're out of fuel, their furnace is broken, whatever. they can call, there's a 24/7 answering from the redevelopment authority, and something is done. Whether a furnace contractor is sent out, fuel is delivered, if nothing else, heaters are delivered. That program is also expected not to exist this year. So you have people, and I'm talking elderly people now because that's what we're focused on. I can't imagine how many calls come in. It's emotional. How many calls come in from elderly people that are freezing? They can't live in their homes anymore because there's not gonna be the assistance to help them survive the winter in their home. That's why places like this are needed. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a statement that they would like to make? Joe?
Can I
Mr.
make
Blaskowitz?
one final statement?
And could you address one thing? Is heat paid for by the residents of this unit? Who pays the heat? Anybody know? Is the heat provided in the apartments for
Yeah.
free for anybody that lives there, or
Is that
No.
individuals have to pay that?
Individuals pay for it.
Yeah, but there's a utility allowance that's
Bigger
factored
allowance.
into the rent so that it's not extending the rent higher than they can be, so, yeah.
Just state your name for the court report.
Joe Blaskowitz, Executive Director of Wayne County Housing Authority. Just the part that we're involved with the community. I have my deputy Ellen Polsky here tonight. We had a long-term tenant. She was 92 at gravity, and it's safe to say we were there in her final moments. She passed, but as one door closes, a couple days later, we had a homeless veterans married couple. We're living in a tent, and they are right now in our unit. So that's what we do. But we need the need is great. So they wanted to stay in it because some of these nights were cold. We didn't get a chance to rehab it, so now we're going in and they're in it now. So just like it's what we do. Do it every day. So.
Anyone else like to make a statement? Anyone on Borough Council? I'm sorry, did someone raise their hand? No? Okay, gentlemen, is there anything else you'd like to offer?
Nothing other than the exhibit you asked me about that before and I deferred, so I would move for the exhibits A through F.
All the
A1 through
exhibits are admitted.
A1 through A5. Thank you.
Okay. I'd ask that we keep the record open for 20 days. If there's anything else you would like to submit. Also, we have to get in touch with Mr. Eunice to get the proof of posting submitted. I know that would benefit you more than hurt you.
Make sure,
And gentlemen, would you like to submit a findings of fact and conclusions of law?
Yes, I'm gonna keep it brief.
20 days enough
Yes.
to do that, so we'll have findings of fact and conclusions of law within 20 days. Mr. Hermans, you are free to put in what's called a findings of fact and conclusions of law. It's basically a legal argument and based on the facts testified here tonight. It's just one more argument for you. If you'd like to do that, you don't have to.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Chris, if would too, if there was anything in writing by the planning commission, they had minutes of the meetings of the evidencing the presentation that was made and their recommendation, we'd like to make sure that gets added to the record as well.
Dean, do you know if you guys issued anything, any written decision? Okay. Is anybody gonna want a transcript from tonight? Or we'll wait for the decision?
wait for the
Yeah,
Do
decision.
that? Okay. Borough Council, we should meet after 20 days. We have 45 days to render a decision. But we should wait for the findings of fact and conclusions of law from council.
Which by my count would be by November 10th.
I agree. So gentlemen, do you insist that we have a date tonight, or can we just inform you when that date will be? Borough Council, you will meet like a jury, it will not be open to the public, and you can deliberate and render your decision. The two people that aren't here on Borough Council will not be able to participate in that, okay?
I have no problem with it either way. If it were to be on a regular meeting, I don't think you have to advertise it. If you don't announce it tonight, I think, well, actually, as long as our helpful witness here, who's a party, Mr. Hermans, was notified, I don't know that you do have to notify anybody else. In other words, if you pick the date, at the beginning of November and said you were gonna do it.
Next borough meeting's the 11th.
Oh, well, how about we agree that we could get besides the 10th is a Monday anyway, why don't we agree we'll have them in by, the 7th of November? Is that
Okay.
right? That's a
That's
Friday.
fine.
That's a Friday.
I'll take them up.
2 weeks from this Friday, yeah.
We'll take it up to any time at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, November 11th.
It'll be by email, so. yeah.
Okay?
But yes.
Okay, anything
Tuesday,
else for the good of the
November
order?
Yeah.
Record remains open for 20 days, and that's it. I'll adjourn the hearing.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, everybody.
David.